Hi, my name is Emily Zorzonello, and if you don't know me, I'll link down below in the description box a playlist of my anoxic brain injury so you can learn more about how I died for 23 minutes, why my voice sounds like this, and that I'm legally blind, but my anoxic brain injury is crucial to the end of this video for a number of reasons, which we will get into, but today's video is going to be me telling you why I went to the emergency room during this whole coronavirus outbreak and what led up to me going to the emergency room. So let's get into it. So let's go back to March 13th, Friday the 13th. I was here home alone. My parents were both at work, and all of a sudden, all day, I had this really bad ear pain, and my throat was kind of hurting. My ear pain kept getting worse and worse, so I ended up texting my mother that I thought I had an ear infection or something like that. I said something along the lines of, my left ear is really hurting me, and so is my throat. And so later that day when she got home from work, I think I took my temperature and I didn't have a fever at this point. So over the course of the weekend, my ear got worse, but my throat got drastically worse, and sometime either late Saturday night or Sunday morning, I developed a fever around 100.5 to 101. It kept going up and down a little, but the fever stayed for Sunday, and when I woke up on Monday, I still had the fever. But also on Sunday night, I started to develop this awful pain right here every time I breathed in. So like every breath I took, it really hurt, and I was concerned, and so on Monday morning it was excruciating. So when my doctor's office opened that day, we called them up and asked what to do, like if I should come in, because like Friday the 13th, when my symptoms first started, the whole coronavirus wasn't that bad over here yet. Like out in California, it was starting to get bad, and in other parts of the country it was, but over the weekend, the coronavirus frenzy really developed. So on Monday, when we called the doctor's office, we weren't sure what they were gonna say about my symptoms and if they were gonna have me come in. On Monday morning, I also woke up not being able to really talk at all. I will insert a clip here. Hey guys, so as you can probably hear by my voice, I'm kinda sick. I am out going to the doctor. Well, I actually just went to the doctor. I know I don't have coronavirus. I might have pneumonia. I definitely have a strep throat. And as you can see by that video clip you just watched, when I was out coming home from the doctor's in the car, you could hear that I could barely talk and that my throat really hurt, and we weren't really sure what was going on at that point. But when I went to the doctor's, the nurse practitioner that I normally see, I didn't see her that day. I think it was her day off, or maybe they didn't have me see her because she's pregnant. I'm not really sure. But so I saw a different nurse practitioner that I had seen once or twice before my brain injury, but never since. So when I saw her, she looked at my throat and my ear and stuff, and she said my ears looked fine, but she said that I had a spot on the left side of my throat. I believe she said on my tonsil or whatever, but what I found really strange was that at this doctor's office, they don't test for strep there. They don't do strep swabs because I guess a lot of strep swabs come back as false positives or false negatives. I'm not really sure, but I found it really strange that they didn't swab. She just prescribed me amoxicillin, and as she was listening to my lungs, she heard something down in the lower part of the lung where I showed you that was hurting on my back every time I breathed it in. She said that it might be pneumonia, and it probably would be pneumonia, and to go get an x-ray of my lungs to know for sure. So after I left the doctor's office, I went over to the x-ray place and got my lungs x-rayed, and I didn't find out the results until later, but on the way home we had to make a few stops, like for some groceries. I didn't go into the stores, I waited in the car, but this was when the coronavirus was really chaotic in our area, and they were telling you to self-quarantine if you could at this point. And so we stopped to pick up a few groceries because when the whole frenzy broke out, we didn't run out to the stores and stockpile groceries like some people did. We just figured it was like over-exaggerated. People were worrying for nothing. Well, not nothing, but like how in the Boston area, if like a huge snowstorm blizzard is coming and they tell you to hunker down and stuff, and people run out and get groceries and stuff. Well, we never do that when it's a blizzard, so we didn't do it for this. And so on the way home, we stopped at the grocery store, and also I had to stop to pick up some of my medical marijuana because I was almost out, and who knows how long I could be trapped at home, not being able to go get some more. So I went there too, but after that, once I got home, later that day, when my prescription of amoxicillin was ready, my mom went out to get it, and I started taking it. Before we went out to get the prescription of amoxicillin, before my mom went, we got a call from the doctor saying that the x-ray of my lung looked normal, and that she didn't think that I had pneumonia. But anyways, so Tuesday and Wednesday were pretty much the same. I still had my fever. I felt awful. I pretty much slept all day. Not much changed. But on Thursday is when things started to go downhill. So on Thursday, my voice started to sound a little better, but I started to feel more sick, and my pain in my back was getting increasingly worse, and I actually filmed the video that you will see, that you would have saw on Friday, the Boxytron video, and if you go watch that, you can see that my voice clearly, I sound sick, and clearly I look sick. I'm extremely tired, exhausted, in a lot of pain, but I pushed through and was able to film the video even though I felt awful. But when I woke up on Friday morning, things hadn't gotten better, even though I had been taking the amoxicillin and like my Tylenol. My fever was gone, but my back pain every time I breathed in was way worse. And so my mother called up to the doctor's office again to find out what we should do, because oh yeah, when I was there on Monday, they said that they don't test for corona there, or maybe they ran out of tests. The nurse practitioner was like, we are not doing corona tests. So when we called on Friday, and now my doctor's office is closed on Friday, but we called like the on-call number or whatever, and so when somebody called us back, they were really worried because I have a weakened immune system from like after my brain injury and like losing 115 pounds and my stomach surgery situation, which I have yet to talk about, but I plan to. It's coming in the future, just hold tight for that. But anyways, I have a really weak immune system now, and they were concerned that the pain was getting worse, and so they told me that I had to go to the ER to get a corona swab and another lung x-ray, because maybe it was pneumonia and the amoxicillin wasn't strong enough for it, but I'm not really sure. So anyways, like that was, my mom talked to the people probably around 10:30, 10:45 and in the morning, and after that I immediately got dressed and we went to the ER that they told us to go to, that is like on the same system as my primary care doctor or whatever. So we went to Melrose Wakefield emergency room, and when we walked in, it was like very like quiet, obviously, as I imagined, and they handed me a mask that I put on like over my nose and mouth and stuff. At this point I had a slight cough, but nothing really, not too bad. But yeah, I know it's for safety precautions, and I'm glad I had the mask. But then I went into this little room to have my vitals checked, and as they were checking, while walking into the room, I had told them my mother is my guardian, and they were like, okay, whatever. So as I was walking into the room, they were doing my vitals, whatever, and asking me questions. They started asking me what medicines I take and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, ask my mother. She's my guardian. She's the one who gives me my medicines. I cannot read, I didn't say this part to them, but I cannot read the bottles and I cannot open the bottles. And some of my medicines or liquid medicines that go through my feeding tube from my complications with my stomach surgery and losing 115 pounds. So I like my parents giving me my medicines, so I told them my mother would know that I don't know. And then they had asked me something else, I can't remember what, but I had said I don't know, my mother would know to that too. And then after they were done with that, they were like, okay, well now we're gonna move you to quarantine. I guess your buddy can stay with you, meaning my service dog. And she said that, I think it was a nurse and maybe an intake lady, I'm not really sure. She goes, I guess your buddy can stay with you to keep you comfortable. And like my service dog is not for comfort, like it's not an emotional support dog. Yes, she is also an emotional support dog, but emotional support dogs have way different rules and regulations than service dogs. Like I couldn't bring just an emotional support dog around with me, that's illegal. So there are different rules and regulations for emotional support dogs and service dogs, and I had told them, no, at this point I didn't tell them what type of service she performed for me, because nobody asked, even though technically by law that is one of the two questions that a person can ask, is if the two questions a person can ask anybody with a service dog is, one, is it a service dog, and two, what task does it perform for you? By law, that's all they can ask me, but they didn't even ask me that. So after I was told my buddy could stay with me for comfort, but my mother couldn't come with me into quarantine, I was freaking out. And so this nurse lady was guiding me out of the living room, and I had to walk back out where I had come into the emergency room from, and walk over a little ways to get to the quarantine section. But on the way out of the room, I had looked at my mom, and they had said, your mom can't come with you at this point for safety precautions or whatever. And I gave my mom this look because I had the mask over my mouth, so I was trying to convey with my eyes, like, are you kidding me? I purposely said that my mother was my guardian for a reason. Like, I want my own guardianship back, but for now, I have her as a guardian only because of my blindness and dealing with insurance, health insurance people, and medical stuff. So I wanted her there for a reason, to answer any questions that I couldn't and stuff, and like, people treat me awful because I sound like this and I'm disabled. So they were like, no, she can't come with you. And at this point, I started to have a panic attack, but not full blown yet. Like, I was getting there, which we will get there. But so we walked out of the emergency room, and I had to walk over a little bit to this other entrance, the ambulance entrance. And so when I was walking, the lady, I think she was a nurse or something, the intake people or whatever, she was like pulling on me, and I should have said, my service dog is for balance, could you stop pulling on me? but people hear that I'm blind and they want to try to hold my arms and guide me, and it pisses me off. Get your dirty hands off of me. Even my father does it, and my mother sometimes does it, and it makes my balance worse. My service dog is for balance. I know how to walk with my service dog. All I need you to do is tell me if there is a step up or a step down or a slant or a crack or something to watch out for, because I cannot see, and my service dog is not a CNI dog, which I plan to get a CNI dog relatively soon. Anyways, so as we get to the ambulance door, the lady's badge wouldn't work, and as she's standing there trying to scan in while still pulling on me, she's like, "Will you be okay right here if I go get a new card to let you in?" And I was like, yeah, of course I will, or whatever. So she left. And I should have turned around, because I guess my mother had come outside at this point, out of the other entrance, and was going to move the car or whatever. But I should have turned around and saw my mother, because I would have taken off and left. At that point, I was already plotting my escape at this point. So finally the lady comes back, scans us in, and then we go in. She unzips the quarantine thing and opens it, and I go in, and she's like, "Go to the last room on the third room," which was the last room on the right. And so I walk down there. It's dark in there, and the room in front of mine. So the second room, this lady who was in there, I believe she was of an older generation, like maybe 60, 70, and possibly 80, but I could tell by her voice and her cough she was much, much, much sicker than me. I might have had the corona. And so I get into this room, I sit on the stretcher, and the lady is like, "Somebody will be in soon to help you," or whatever, and she lives, and I hear her, I think, zip her up the quarantine thing again. I immediately start hyperventilating. This room is dark, like it is scary looking, like it was a dark, dingy, like it looked like they never used these rooms, and so that's why they picked them to be the quarantine rooms. There was hardly anything in there, not like any usual emergency room that I have been to, at least. It was dark and dingy, and I was sitting on the bed. I immediately hyperventilate and have a panic attack. I burst out into tears. Luckily, I had my phone in my pocket. At this point, my mother didn't know that I had my phone with me, and I guess she told the people while I was walking out with this lady that I didn't have my phone with me, and they said to her, which I found out later, "Well, she can just use one of the hospital phones to call you later to get picked up." And so I didn't know that at this time, but luckily I had my phone. I pulled it out. I called my mom, crying hysterically, hyperventilating. I'm like, "Mom, I can't be here. I have to leave, or you have to come in. I can't be here alone." Blah, 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 whatever I said, freaking out, because After my anoxic brain injury in 2017, I have never been any place alone, ever. I have always gone places with my mom, with my dad, yeah, maybe some other people, but either my mom or my dad was there, never alone. And so I had the worst panic attack that I've had in a while. And so my mom was like, I'll go in and see what I can do. And so I hung up. She walked back into the emergency room, and I guess she told them that I was hysterical, and they were like, already? And she was like, yeah. And so they finally gave her a mask and let her come into my room and to be with me. But like right as I heard the quarantine thing unzip, I was in the middle of dialing my dad's number to tell him what was going on, because I was about to escape, like I had plotted my escape in case they wouldn't let my mother in. I knew that the thing zippered and I was gonna leave. I didn't care if anybody said anything to me. I was gonna get up and go and unzip it and just walk out. And if somebody said something to me, I don't have no problem knocking a bitch out. So be careful who you mess with. Even though I have a disability, I am not afraid to get into an altercation with somebody if need be. My anxiety was horrendous until I heard my mother come in, and finally I was able to calm down. The doctor had come in and he was talking to me about my symptoms, which I was telling him how it all started, like I told you guys. And that morning I had woke up and my pain in my back was getting much worse, and every time I took a breath, no matter how shallow or how deep it was, I was in horrible, excruciating pain. So he did his little listen with his stethoscope, and you know what he said? It sounds like there might be pneumonia in your left lung in the bottom, which is exactly what my primary care office has said on Monday. And this is Friday, and I have been taking antibiotics this whole time. And so the nurse comes in, takes a bunch of blood, does her swab for the flu, for strep, and for corona. And now the corona test takes 3 to 5 days for results. And today is day 5, and they said, we will only call you if the test comes back positive. So I plan to have my mother call them tomorrow just to confirm that it was negative, because they said that we could do that too. If we hadn't heard from them, we can call and check on the test. So hopefully it is positive. I mean, it is negative, which I as of now, I assume it is, because I have yet to hear anything at like 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 24th, I believe. Yeah, on Tuesday the 24th at 3:30 p.m. I have yet to receive a call saying that it is positive, which is a good sign. That means I don't have corona, but I'm gonna call and just double check tomorrow. But after many hours of sitting in the emergency room, I finally go for a lung x-ray. And when I get back, and not even 20 minutes once I get back from my lung x-ray, the doctor comes back in and says everything looks good and that they would call me in 3 to 5 days if the test came back positive, and that I could go and just continue taking my antibiotics that I had been taking. And so then the discharge lady came in and discharged me, and I was free to go. So the pneumonia test came back negative when the doctor had come in. He told us they looked good, and I guess the corona as of now is negative unless I hear otherwise, like today or tomorrow maybe, but probably it's negative. 99.9% sure it is negative and that I don't have corona. Now, emergency rooms need to treat people with disabilities a lot kinder and nicer than they do. They should ask the patient themselves what their disability is if they don't know, or if in the records it's confusing to them. Because yes, I have a long medical history, so yes, it might be confusing to somebody, but I am more than happy to clarify anything for anybody. But instead, I'm treated awfully. I even though my mother is my guardian and I insisted on having her with me, they insisted on not, and on making my anxiety worse and causing me so much more trauma than needed to be. Like I guarantee you I will never ever go back to Melrose Wakefield emergency room for any reason. I much rather go to Salem or Leahy Clinic or even to Boston, way over this emergency room. Do not, under any circumstances, go to the Melrose Wakefield Hospital emergency room. So, I know that everything has been crazy in the news and online about this whole coronavirus. So I hope that you guys are staying inside because it really makes a difference. I haven't left my house since Friday, but that's no different for me. Even before I got sick, 99.9% of the time I'm in my house. I only leave my house to go to doctor's appointments, or if I have to, or if I want to run an errand. But most times I send my mother out to run my errands because I hate the way that I'm treated as a disabled person with a service dog out in public. So being quarantined and stuck at home is no different for me. So if you would like a video on tips and tricks of how to survive everyday life, not leaving your house, and how to stay mentally sane, not being able to leave, and having very limited social interaction, obviously because social distancing and quarantine means that you might be at your house with two other people, maybe three, depending on how big your family is or how many people you live with. But I know that it can get very draining on people, especially on their mental health. So if you would like a video about how I deal with everyday life being basically in solitary confinement. Like, let me break it down for you real quick. Before my stomach surgery last July, I was going out a lot more. I was going to the chiropractor 2 times a week. I was running errands and stuff, and I was going more places. But after my stomach surgery and the complications that came, I basically got confined to like solitary confinement, like 23 and 1 basically, but I wouldn't even go out for that 1 hour. I might leave my room and come upstairs to the kitchen for that 1 hour, but most of my time is spent in my bed or in my room or maybe in the garage using my medical marijuana. But I understand that solitary confinement is used in jails and prisons to try to break people's mental health and try to get them to go crazy. So I have mastered not mastered, some days are better than others, but I have pretty much have become accustomed and know how to deal with like staying in basically solitary confinement with a little interaction, and it all has to do with your perspective on life and stuff. Like, I have been thinking of doing the solitary confinement challenge that Jessica Kent created, where she locks herself in her bathroom for 24 hours, like how it would be in a prison, and she is a prison YouTuber, and I thought it was a very, very moving video, and it really shows how isolation can get to a person and destroy their mental health. So if you would like to see me attempt that challenge, leave a comment down below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified about every time I post, and give this video a thumbs up and share it with somebody you know, because maybe it might help somebody not go through what I did. And I really sincerely hope nobody else gets treated the way I got treated, going to an emergency room and put in confinement, quarantine, but like with a disability, and how rude they were and pulling on me and stuff. Like, you see, I have balance problems, like, and I have a service dog. Stop pulling on me. You saw that I walked into the hospital without my mom holding on to me just fine. There's no need for you to be pulling on me. It just pisses me off so much. But stay tuned for future videos. I plan to make lots of videos about service dogs to educate the public about how to treat people with service dogs and how to interact with them out in public and stuff, and the differences between a service dog, like an ADA service dog, which ADA means Americans with Disabilities Act, which I'm protected by under the Civil Rights. But anyways, I plan to make a video about service dogs, emotional support dogs, and therapy dogs, telling you the differences of them all and information about that. So if you have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave them down below for another video. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and stay inside. Bye.